I love Paige to death. Do not get me wrong. I think, I think she's a hell of a player and, would love to play with her one day. But those refs were giving her every freaking whistle last night. You literally couldn't touch her. And that shit is so annoying to me. And if you're going to do that, then give it to our guards.
The WNBA is in full damage control mode after Sophie Cunningham blew the lid wide open. She didn't hold back, and now the league is reeling. Her fiery comments have sparked outrage, ignited debates, and triggered a staggering fine that looks more like a gag order than justice. Was Cunningham bravely speaking truth to power, or did she cross a line in the league's eyes? Fans are divided, players are buzzing behind closed doors, and the tension is spreading like wildfire. One thing's for sure, this is no longer just about basketball. This fine has exposed something bigger. Spotlight on leadership failures, questionable officiating, and the lack of protection for stars like Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham. The question now, will the WNBA finally face its crisis head-on, or keep silencing its players? What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get into it.
I just hate the inconsistency.
When whistles are player-focused, that's I think that's a huge problem.
Well, she's gonna be one of those players that she's already gonna be a GOAT. She's gonna be a Hall of Famer. Everyone knows that she's freaking hell of a player, but getting some of those whistles already, oh my, I couldn't.
This season, Sophie Cunningham has found herself at the heart of one of the fiercest player versus league battles in WNBA history. For fines, yes, that's not discipline. That's a warning shot from a league determined to brand a rising star as a problem. It all started when Sophie, fed up with a game riddled with questionable officiating, took to TikTok with a no-filter rant calling the referees useless. The video lasted just 30 seconds, but the fallout was instant. The WNBA slapped her with a $500 fine, leaving fans stunned and players shaken at how quickly the hammer came down.
Cunningham posted the video 6 days ago. It shows her lip-syncing lyrics from Sabrina Carpenter's song Man-Child. The caption to the video is, "At some refs."
Stupid. Or is it slow? Maybe it's useless.
Yesterday, Cunningham reposted the video on X with a caption about the fine.
Sophie didn't back down. In fact, she pushed harder on her podcast. Not only did she stand by what she said, she broadened the conversation, calling out the widespread frustration across the league over biased and incompetent officiating. That defiance cost her again another $1,500. Her running total is now $2,000. A clear signal the WNBA wants her to shut up. But instead of silencing her, it's done the opposite, igniting a firestorm that has the entire basketball world talking.
7-0 Indiana run. They're within 2 and a foul. This time, Peckers does get the call.
I thought this might have been an offensive foul. Howard for the finish.
Indiana's considering challenging this call, but they will not, as Peckers gets free.
The backlash was immediate. Social media lit up with hashtags backing Sophie as fans blasted the league's hypocrisy. Within hours, GoFundMe campaigns wiped out her fines, and petitions demanding referee accountability and transparency drew thousands of signatures. The outrage was sharp, focused, and unified. Why punish a player for saying what everyone already knows? Why protect a broken officiating system while silencing the one who dares to call it out? But this isn't just about fines or frustration anymore. It's a breaking point for the league. The rift between players and referees, the questions of fairness, the cries for transparencies, all boiling over. With support for Sophie surging, the WNBA now faces a challenge that could reshape its future. This is only the beginning of the fallout. The real question is, will Sophie's courage spark long overdue reform or unleash a storm the league can no longer control?
You could overturn it to an offensive foul. You could also maintain that it's a foul but take away the continuation. All of those things could happen here on this call.
The interesting thing is, when you get to this point of the play, it is a foul on Boston. But it's because her arm was clamped earlier in the play.
I mean, look at that.
What can she do there?
She literally can do nothing. I don't know how that's not overturned to an offensive foul.
I agree with you.
That looks about as clear as it gets. And you saw how quickly Stephanie White challenged that.
The contrast between the WNBA and other major leagues is striking. In the NBA, outspoken voices like Draymond Green or legends like Charles Barkley have thrived by speaking their minds. Barkley, in fact, built his entire brand on unfiltered criticism, and fans embraced him for it. That kind of candor isn't just accepted in the NBA IST, celebrated as part of the culture.
As reviewed, we have no illegal conduct by Euro, so the call will stand as confirmed. This will be also. Indiana will lose their challenge as well as their timeout. One shot for Euro. Thank you.
That's stunning to me. I mean, Aaliyah Boston, look at her. Lee puts her one hand down and then pins Boston down with her other arm.
I gotta say, Rebecca, I'm sure we'll get an explanation from Sue Blau at some point soon.
Sophie's treatment in the WNBA paints a starkly different picture. After daring to call out referees for failing to protect players, Caitlin Clark included the league came down hard. What began as her venting frustration quickly escalated into something darker. A league official pulled her aside and warned, "Asterisk, they're going to fine you again." That's not constructive feedback, that's a threat. The message couldn't be clearer. Speak your mind, and you'll pay the price. Where the NBA embraces open debate, the WNBA seems determined to silence dissent. And that raises a bigger question. What kind of culture does this league actually want? Ironically, by trying to muzzle Sophie, the WNBA only amplified her voice. Her criticism is now headline news. It's the classic Streisand effect, Barry, the story, and it only explodes further. The irony cuts even deeper when you look at the string of unpunished cheap shots on Caitlin Clark. Fans are connecting the dots. The league appears quicker to fine players for words than to punish dangerous plays, and that raises troubling questions about priorities, fairness, and the values the WNBA claims to stand for.
Paige Beckers putting her hands on Sophie to shove her up. You see Sophie's hand in the air. Both hands are in the air right here. And Paige Beckers is shoving. She is shoving her clean off. Boom. Pushed her right into Howard. Pushed her into Howard. Now she's wide open and waiting for a pass like she just didn't do anything. Like she just didn't do anything. Wide open down here. Look at her. And then all of a sudden you get the whistle. And look at the ref. You see the ref? You see the ref right here. Calling the foul. And guess who the foul was on? Sophie Cunningham.
Sophie didn't sugarcoat it. She was direct-hand. She was right. Officiating is tough, no doubt, and mistakes are part of the game. But when blatant calls are missed over and over, right in front of everyone, you have to wonder, what are the referees even doing out there? That question doesn't just hang over one bad night hit. Hangs over the entire league. And when NBA officiating looks polished by comparison, the WNBA's flaws become impossible to ignore. Players and fans are left with the same uneasy thought. How can a league truly grow when those demanding fairness are punished with fines instead of the system being fixed?
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying that your job is easy, but when it is a simple call right in front of your face multiple times, what are you doing? What are you doing?
What call are you like bugged out?
All of them.
Most? Everything?
Like, it's just like they're just so inconsistent. Like, that's my thing. Like, if you're on the other team and you're going to be finding the shit out of me,
yeah,
cool. But let me do it to you.
Let you, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like
Consistency
then.
Yeah, like just give. And I think that's players across the league and like new fans across the country. Like everyone's like, what is going on with the refs? And I'm like, I don't know. And you finding me $500 is not going to do shit.
Anyone who's ever left a WNBA game with the sense that something wasn't right knows exactly what Sophie means. This isn't about one rough night, it's about a pattern of inconsistency that fans can't ignore anymore. That pattern dictates how teams play, fuels frustration in the stands, and leaves players venting their anger after the final buzzer. And the league's response: slap fines on anyone who dares to call it out. Sure, $500 might not sound huge, but it's never been about the money, it's about the message. And that message has only made Sophie's fight louder. Her podcast, Dissecting the Fines, has turned the spotlight right back on the officiating crisis, pushing the debate into The open, where it can't be brushed aside.
There's like a good handful that it's like, all right, dude. And there's a couple girls in there too.
Dumb question. If someone were to like say someone called men's basketball their whole life and then went over to women's, would they be expected to call the game differently? Just given like the style and like physicality and stuff like that?
The real question now is, how long can the WNBA keep silencing those demanding change before the cracks widen into a full collapse? Sophie's stand hasn't just called out one bad officiating crew, it's exposed a league wrestling with its own credibility. And if muzzling her is only the beginning, how far is the WNBA willing to go to protect its image before its very foundation starts to crumble? Look at how other leagues handle referee controversies. The difference is night and day. In the NBA, there's transparency, replay centers, public reports, open debates. Players can criticize officials without immediately fearing a fine. That openness builds trust, even when mistakes happen. The WNBA, meanwhile, has chosen the opposite path, punishing critics instead of fixing problems, and the fallout is clear. Fining Sophie $500, then $1,500 hasn't silenced the noise, it's only fueled it. Social media petitions, trending hashtags, and nonstop debate prove this isn't just a minor flare-up. It's a full-on revolt against a league that seems to value quiet over fairness.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a physical game, you know. I think there's a double standard in how people get their calls. I think Kelsey Mitchell, number one, is held or chucked on every freaking possession and never gets a call off the ball. I think Aaliyah Boston is the worst officiated post player in the league. She never gets a call. And you know, there's a double standard there, certainly. But you know, again, if it's going to be physical and you're gonna allow us to be physical, then allow both teams to be physical. If you're going to call the holds and you're going to call the chucks, and you're going to then call it both ways. So I mean, I think that we've been pretty consistent in what we're asking for, and I didn't feel like it was consistent, especially for those two. I think you could call a foul every time down the floor for those two.
And here's the real danger. Bad officiating doesn't just blow calls, it erodes trust. Fans begin questioning the integrity of every game, and players grow afraid to speak up. Once that trust disappears, it's almost impossible to rebuild. That's the true cost of the WNBA's heavy-handed response. Unless something changes, it's a cost the league will be paying for years. Right now, the WNBA is standing at the edge of a cliff, staring down a choice that could define its future. It can take the courageous route, confront its officiating. Crisis head nor keep pretending nothing's wrong, and in doing so, alienate the very fans and players who give the league life. This isn't just a PR hiccup, it's a full-blown credibility crisis. The question is, will the league finally address its deep-rooted problems or continue punishing the voices calling for reform? And beyond that, what unseen forces are driving this relentless crackdown? The absurdity speaks for itself. Only in the WNBA could a player be fined for talking about their own fine. Sophie Cunningham revealed on her podcast that her general manager had to pull her aside in front of her teammates to break the news of yet another penalty. She wasn't cursing. She wasn't making it personally. She was simply critiquing officiating. Sophie even went out of her way to acknowledge that many refs are skilled and that the job isn't easy. But that nuance didn't matter. The league's disciplinary hammer still came crashing down.
The thing that I have the biggest issue about the female sides of refs is like they're so emotional. Like the guys, no, the NBA officials, like the NBA players mother those officials like no other.
Yeah.
Like I've worked broadcast, I've been to games, I'm friends with these people. They mother them.
Yeah.
And the only person that I've ever seen able to like mother a ref on the women's side is Diana Taurasi.
And they like take it.
Yeah, they had to.
Yeah, they have
and
to.
like, but when she's probably one of the worst people that I've seen go after refs, and I loved every second of it.
Yeah.
The bigger problem is simple. None of this controversy would exist if officiating were consistently fair and competent in the first place. When referees miss obvious calls, especially ones tied directly to player safety, frustration is inevitable. And this goes far beyond Sophie. It's about Caitlin Clark getting hacked, shoved, and blindsided game after game with little to no protection. It's about the Indiana Fever fighting uphill battles, not just against opponents, but against inconsistent officiating itself. Instead of treating these criticisms as valuable feedback and using them to improve, Commissioner Kathy Engle's league doubled down with punishment, turning what should have been a minor issue into a full-blown scandal. And the timing couldn't be worse. Even national outlets like the Wall Street Journal are now openly asking whether the WNBA is fostering a hostile work environment that silences honest conversation. The hypocrisy is staggering. Cheap shots like Marina Mabrey's blindside hit on Clark or Dejona Carrington's near eye pocket brushed aside with no real consequences. Yet the moment Sophie Cunningham calls out officials for failing to do their job, the league suddenly springs into action with military precision. It's like ignoring a 5-alarm fire in the living room while lecturing someone for spilling coffee on the couch. The WNBA's priorities aren't just misplaced, they're upside down. And every time the league chooses to police words instead of protecting its stars, it chips away at the trust that players and fans have in its leadership.
Now, like the refs, and I'm not saying they're emotional, like the men and women, it doesn't matter the gender.
Yeah.
On our side, they are too emotionally invested and they can't take it. And I'm like,
is it new to the WNBA that you guys are like maybe talking more shit back to refs, or has that been a thing forever?
oh, it's always been a
This
thing.
uneven enforcement has left both players and fans questioning where the WNBA's real priorities lie. Sophie Cunningham gets slapped with fines for a calm, respectful podcast comment while Caitlin Clark takes hit after hit on the court, with zero protection. 2 seasons in, and not a single fine has been handed down for those blatant fouls. The disconnect couldn't be clearer. It's starting to feel like the league cares more about controlling the narrative than protecting the very athletes driving its growth. Defenders will argue that every league fines players for criticizing officials. But here's the difference. In most leagues, the officiating is strong enough that players don't feel the need to speak out week after week. In the NBA, for instance, complaints pop up occasionally, but the standard is generally high. So the conversation is about fine-tuning, not basic survival on the court. When NBA refs look flawless by comparison, it's a giant red flag that your own system is broken. The fix should start with improving officiating, not silencing the people calling for change. And let's be honest, Sophie's comments weren't some wild rant. She didn't hurl insults or attack anyone personally. She simply said what thousands of fans and viewers were already thinking: the refs aren't doing their job well. That's it. No drama, just truth. Instead of responding with asterisk, we hear you and will work to improve, asterisk, the WNBA hit her with fines, effectively sending the message, asterisk, we care more about appearances than reality. That's the mindset of a league stuck in defense mode instead of growth mode. But if anything, the move backfired. By punishing Sophie, the league only amplified her voice. Her podcast saw a surge in listeners eager to hear the supposedly dangerous comments the WNBA wanted to suppress. And here's the irony. This kind of honest, unfiltered feedback is exactly what could make the league better if it embraced it. When athletes feel free to speak, solutions follow. Punishing truth-tellers doesn't solve problems. It just buries them until they explode. The reality is simple. When a league is run well, players don't need to air grievances publicly. But when officiating is this flawed, no fine or intimidation tactic will stop the truth from getting out. Sophie's punishment isn't just about hurts, a symptom of a bigger leadership failure. A failure that puts protecting the league's image above protecting its players. Until that changes, controversies like this will keep resurfacing. So here's the real question. Can the WNBA finally admit it has a leadership crisis? Confront its officiating disaster and start protecting stars like Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham? Or will Kathy Engelbert and her league keep doubling down on silencing their best ambassadors, even if it means burning the trust of fans and players alike? What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this fight isn't just Sophie's. It's about the future of the entire league.